I have a lot of people right now that are contacting me because I specifically talk in my book about real estate as an option long term. And if you look over the history of America, real estate has been an excellent hedge against inflation and just a real great source of diversified cash flow. I'm a big real estate fan, but I do want to put a little caveat here, a little pin in this topic of real estate. And the reason I want to put a pin in it is because something's changed with real estate recently. Like, we usually think of real estate as a hedge against. So like, for example, perfect example is if you look at the dot-com crash of the early 2000s, when the market itself wasn't doing great, but people still had to live, right? They still had to rent their apartment. They still had to rent their house. They still had to pay their landlord. They still had their job. The market crashed, but people were still employed and they still needed to pay for where they lived. So real estate actually was a really good hedge against market crashes with the dot-com bust. And that's kind of more what we're used to. Unless it's a real estate centric crash like the Great Recession was. The Great Recession was real estate centric. And, if you were reading the tea leaves of what was going on in the country, you could see that with subprime lending opening up junk bonds that were being sold on Wall Street as, AAA great credit bonds. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, a great sort of, it's not 100% accurate, but I would say it's a really good depiction in 2 hours of what happened. The Big Short, the movie, is a great, if you're at home social distancing, definitely maybe check out The Big Short and you'll see how it was so easy to see that the real estate market was going to just be decimated through the Great Recession. So you had people that were buying, second and third and fourth homes with no doc verification, no loan verification, and it was just a disaster. So as those loans that were set as 2 years, initially in the beginning, fixed rates for just 2 years, and they would reset after 2 years, began to reset, people began to default, the bonds started to collapse, the insurance policies that were insuring the bonds kicked in, and that's what bankrupted our whole system, and everything collapsed. So real estate was really hard hit with the Great Recession because it was a real estate beginning-centric collapse. But if you look at what the economy has been for the last 11 years through our most recent bull market, almost 11 years to the day, you wouldn't have been able to say that the next correction will have anything to do with real estate. Real estate has been a really good hedge against. Yet, because the fact is that the entire world has voluntarily shut down because of the virus, including the United States of America, everything has stopped.